Hey, I'm Laura. Just quickly, we here at Grit TV are proud to bring you independently produced content every day. Now it's your chance to help us. Grit TV has been offered a $100,000 challenge grant. Every dollar you give right now between now and June 30th is worth $3 to us. We've only got a few more weeks to meet the match. Will you help? You can donate at our website, grittv.org. Meanwhile, enjoy this clip.
U.S. taxpayer dollars are being used to fund warlords and other people that are fueling corruption in that government.
The report concludes U.S. tax dollars end up in insurgent hands through a trucking contract worth more than $2 billion. To ensure safe passage of supplies to U.S. bases through dangerous areas, trucking companies make payments to local security firms with ties to the Taliban who control the roads.
Thanks to CBS for that report, and it's making headlines all over. Congress is out with an investigative report with the headline, Warlord Inc. What's behind it? Well, as luck would have it, and journalism, a Nation magazine article by our guest. Aram Roston is a contributor for The Nation as well as an author. Congratulations on sparking an important investigation, Aram.
Thank you very much.
Talk a little bit about the conclusions here. They don't differ all that much from what you wrote back in November in The Nation magazine. A vast protection racket. That's their words.
That's right. No, there wasn't a vast difference, but they do get into a lot more detail, and they spoke to a remarkable number of people. I mean, the report, I think, is pretty staggering. I mean, what they say is, first of all, they say warlords protect the U.S. military supply chain. It's a big finding to have an official body make that. They also say it's a protection racket. They also say it may be funding the Taliban, and they say contractors believe it was funding the Taliban. They couldn't find direct proof it was funding the Taliban because obviously transactions like that aren't recorded. And they also found it was fueling corruption. They found it was undercutting the efforts of the war. And finally, they said there was a lack of oversight, and the real problem was contractors were warning their military liaison. They were telling them, look what the problem is. They're sending them emails. They were telling them this in meetings, and nothing was happening.
That's what you wrote about, too, is that people were bringing this to the attention of, well, all of those who were supposed to be giving them oversight. What did happen?
They were giving them no oversight. You know, it was clear, as I wrote, people knew about it, suspected it, guessed at it, and heard about it. But the military it wasn't even they turned a blind eye to it. They just didn't know what to do about it, in a sense. They didn't seem to care.
Now, one of the arguments that you'll hear from people inside, although there's nobody making this argument right now in the media, is, well, this is how business is done in Afghanistan. Always has been, always will be. Nothing really hugely different went on.
Yeah, that's a good argument to make, I think. It's because you want to point out it's a local culture. Some people will even go further than that. They'll say, well, it contributes money to the economy. But I don't think that's accurate. It's because you're enabling certain warlords who you officially are trying not to enable. You're officially trying to stand up a central government and provincial governments that have some sort of status. This is informal. These are irregulars. These are militias. These are, again, warlords, people without titles who have power solely because they command military forces that aren't accountable to anybody but themselves. That's why it's dangerous. The other thing is, I mean, my feeling is one can't even say, one could support it so long as the U.S. knows it's happening. The whole point is you have to know where the money is going. And we're, what, 9 years into this war or 10 years into the war? That's where I think it's important to know, you know, maybe at the beginning of a war, money has to be spent. You know, you've got an invasion or lives are at stake. You have to win. You have to get in there, and people have to be protected. But 9 years in, people need to know where the money's going.
How much money are we talking about?
Well, this contract's a $2 billion contract. It's for 2 years. That's for a 2-year period. It started in May, I believe, and it's split between. Initially, there were 6 companies, and then there were 8 companies. And when I was first there, one of the things I was looking at mainly was the inside dealing, how insiders, connected Afghans and Americans, were sort of reaping a lot of this money. We're getting a lot of these contracts. You had the defense minister's son. No evidence that his father helped him get the contract, but it was intriguing. You had other people, always a lot of people who were connected, and that's, again, the way business is done. And then it unraveled into this, which sort of opened up a whole new problem.
Two questions. One is, it doesn't seem to be working. You've got a massive increase in killings and violence in the first part of this year, something like a 40% increase in road, IEDs. One estimate I saw said there were about 3 suicide bombings a week. Now, that's different, but is it related?
When you say what's not, I mean, the largest the war strategy you're saying isn't working, or versus this?
Trying to protect people from attacks doesn't seem to be working.
Oh, well, if one just looks at this issue, just military supplies, and the irony of that this is that military U.S. funds are going to sometimes the enemy warlords and other people it shouldn't be going to in an unaccountable way. That's one issue. And the other issue is the larger strategy where you have comparable things happening, perhaps. You have, but there it's more controlled. You have outreach on the political level being made towards low-level Taliban fighters and even upper-level Taliban. And if you don't mind if I mention that issue, I mean, a lot of people think, most people think, the only way this war will reasonably end is if they reach out to the Taliban and somehow the Taliban agreed to stop fighting.
There was an op-ed in the New York Times about Hamid Karzai's apparent private sort of back-channel effort to talk to some of the Taliban leaders, and the line in the editorial actually was, well, we don't want the U.S. to be making deals, signing away women's rights and signing away the rights of girls to go to school. When we or our contractors are paying for protection, who are we paying? Like, who are some of those people, the warlords that you write about? It's
an intriguing mess. The company that handles almost every contractor going from this one key stretch of the road, from Kabul, that is from Bagram Air Base to Kandahar, which is the road that takes you to the war. If you want to get to the war, you've got to drive this road, and that's where the supplies are needed. Almost every contractor